Okay, this is the naming conventions training. And so we use a client code, which is a 4 to 5 character code. And that refers to either a client or a domain or a project. And we use Dropbox directories and Google Documents. And so the naming convention would be for customer and XXX, where XXX equals the client code or the domain code if it's an internal project. So as an example, our company name is How to Dominate Local Markets. So we would refer to all of our files and tasks with HTDLM. So that's our company code, our client code. And our Dropbox directory, for example, would be cust_HTDLM, where products are stored. Now this is a high-level view of where you can find and locate either credentials or work files. And so the legend code is the orange are Dropbox folders, and the purples are Google Documents, and the burgundies are internal system files. So there would be, for example, a list of all the client codes on one table or Excel spreadsheet. Then we were migrating to the concept of work orders and tasks. So workers would be issued tasks, and project managers would set up work orders based upon the orders that come in from clients. So we'll go to the next slide. So as an example, we would have the following Dropbox folders. And so if you're working on a project, you want to make sure that you have access to these project folders, and if not, request them. But the links should be provided in the tasks, so you don't have to worry about finding them. But essentially, we have one major directory, and then we also break out images, accounts, and metadata, and we'll go into more detail on those later. And so for the project, we would also have the Google My Business, and then the customer code template, or the customer code social media kit. So the template will be accessible through your Gmail account, and we'll go into the different worksheets that make up a template. Okay, that's actually a little outdated. We're making a lot of changes, so this is the new template. And so you would have name, address, phone, key accounts, so all the Google accounts and all the other primary citation accounts would be here. Additional citations, we're tracking semantic citations somewhat differently, and any errors that we find, any personas that we may use to create these accounts. Okay, so let's get back into here. And then the social media kit, okay, is essentially going to have a couple of things within the social media kit, and also on our Confluence work page for the project, you'll have a link to all of the key directories and key Google Documents, and we have a list of campaigns. So this is a metadata view of campaigns. We'll go into more detail on all of the attributes that make up the metadata, and there's a little utility to create the campaign code by answering a couple of questions. A list of all the social media accounts, including what we consider NetScripts, Web2O, Hootsuite, IFTTTs. And we're migrating the old landing pages into the new work orders, but we're still going to have a place where you can find all of the landing pages and the call to actions for a specific project. And the call to actions would have some spin text. And this is also accessible through our spin tool. And we have a list of blog posts, and the rest of these worksheets we're migrating into actual real folders. So getting back to the project, so each client code or each project will have a series of Dropbox folders and a couple of Google Documents, and they will all be accessible through your project manager. Okay, so now let's see, we'll drill down a little bit more detail here. Go here. Okay, let's go here then. Okay, so now we're just going to drill down a little bit into this major directory. So the customer_XXXX will be the major directory. And again, for our company, it will be HTDLM, and for any other project that would be substituted. So we have a major subdirectory we call metadata, and that's actually going to have different worksheets for video, images, the website, RSS, bookmarks, and comments that we would be using. So there's going to be a lot of metadata all in one Excel spreadsheet. Okay. Images, we break down into SEO images, typical graphics that you would see in a normal web project, and Google My Business images, which are going to be unique and geocoded. And both the GMB and the SEO will be used to use later in videos. So customer accounts is just a temporary place. Accounts ultimately will go either into the social media or into the Google My Business template. But as you screenshot, we have people to screenshot recovery information if they're setting up accounts, or maybe a staging area if a third party is helping us build accounts while we migrate them into the Google My Business template. So that is also a good backup source. And social media files will have status updates, something we call pick quotes, and different profiles that we're going to be posting to for the social media part of the projects. And the rest of the files are your typical web design and social or digital marketing folders. Landing pages are really important. So for each landing page that's referenced, we're starting to migrate to a structure that includes the lead magnet, we call the sales pitch presentation, any content, wireframe, videos, so on and so forth. So both our internal team and clients will understand where all the data is for specific landing pages, which are the most important part of the website and of the campaigns. We use something called silo architecture or theme silo architecture, and that really means that we've done a lot of analysis on the primary keywords, the supporting keywords, the synonyms, and that's accessible. That information is accessible in an Excel spreadsheet. So there's a version of the silo in Excel, and it's a very rich source of information and can save a lot of time instead of searching for doing keyword research. So let's move back up here. So the Google My Business template that we reviewed earlier, just to summarize, has name, address, phone, the key accounts, citation credentials, semantics citations, any credential errors that we find in personas. And the social media kit will have the campaign metadata, which will be campaign codes, which were generated from the utility, the credentials for all of the social media accounts, an index so you can access all the files, and we're building this out and moving other files in to have it in one centralized place. So in addition to landing pages, we'll have segments, the format for the different sales pitch PowerPoints, video sales letter content, and something that we do uniquely, which is called problem pyramid analysis, which is an in-depth analysis of the problem solution set for a target market with the relevant metrics that that target market would be looking at. And then later on, we'll get into more detail on these additional areas, which we're not going to focus too much on right now, except to say that in the training, you can also access all the mind maps, the videos, downloads, presentations, and overviews. Now, this is all going to be put into a LMS, an online learning management system, but if you're working on training or developing training, this would be, or if you have to access the training for some reason, this is the structure of it, of the modules. So let's go back to the Google My Business template. And again, these are the different worksheets. For the social media kit, we're putting we have the campaigns, we have social credentials, we have the landing pages with the call to actions, we're adding segmentation and pain presentations, and the metadata. Images, just to reiterate, graphics, we'll have all of the typical web design graphics that you would need. Okay, so let me back up here. So we have campaign codes. Okay, so we have definitions for all of the fields that we're referencing throughout this presentation and throughout work orders. So campaign code is really helping us track the return on investment, especially when we have a large budget for paid marketing. So we break it down by channel. The product code, which is really important, we'll get into more detail, marketing type, landing page type, and the start and end dates of those campaigns. And we also have additional metadata. And again, this is all documented in a manual, but the best way to understand it is to really work through a real life project. And product names are really important because it's how we're organizing our services and our training, and how we're also helping our legal customers organize their workflow. So a product name could also be a service name. So it's really a mnemonic string representing a product or a service. And why do we use product names? We ensure that we're referring to something which is unique. It will make work easier, since naming them will give us some sequential ordering when we're working on files. And we would append product names to work files to be able to find and search for missing files or files that you need for your project. Inventory control, so dealing with products like an SKU, it's very important in the automation of the workflow and for cost accounting. So the product name is really made up of a category, which is 5 characters, a sequence, which is actually going to be a 6-byte system field, and a product code, which is going to be a human consumable identifier for the product or service. So we have separate presentations on the campaign code and on the product names. This is very important. This next topic is the WordPress script standards. So we're trying to minimize the amount of scripts we maintain on our WordPress sites. And so all scripts for all customers are found in one subdirectory called _all_scripts. And that'll be broken down into more detail by client code or by domain. And we are working with Google Analytics. Really, we're using the universal Google Analytics. And so that will cover the remarketing. So the remarketing is being phased out, but still may exist in some projects. And we're using a Facebook pixel for those remarketings. And that's pretty much going to cover the conversion. So we're getting away from the AdWords conversions. We run a lot of AdWords campaigns. So we're migrating to this new universal and goals. And that's a whole other topic with our Google Analytics setup. But suffice it to say, we want everybody to be aware of these scripts and to continually test them when you're working on a customer domain, and just making sure that the tags are okay, because these things tend to break. So next steps would be download the campaign code naming conventions, download the product naming conventions, and if you're a client, you can begin creating your company's product codes. And we're going to work on, we are working on another module just on recommendations for creating each of the subfields for the product codes to make it easier for you to build your product codes. And later on, we will be adding additional modules to cover our complete local marketing blueprint. So that concludes this presentation. If you have any questions, please send an email to support@htdlm.com.